"You're not welcome this Easter," my mom shouted at the family dinner. I kept quiet. He was never a real son, just a clown. My dad whispered, forgetting that I was paying for everything. "Fine, but don't expect my $7,600. I said while canceling internet, water, and electricity in their house. 3 days later, my WhatsApp was flooded with 47 desperate messages begging me. Pleading, bargaining, pretending. Like the water, the power, and the internet were just temporary gifts I'd forgotten to renew. Not one of them asked why. Not one of them offered an apology. They just panicked when their comfort disappeared. I live alone in a small, forgettable apartment on the outskirts of Columbus, Ohio. Beige walls, silent hallways, neighbors who don't even nod in passing. It's the kind of place that blends into the background, barely worth noticing. The fridge only holds what I bring home. The rent eats most of my paycheck. There's no luxury, no flair. But it's mine, every square inch of it. Mine, my safe zone, my breathing room. That wasn't always the only home I kept afloat. There was another, the one I grew up in. My parents' house. A picturesque two-story colonial out in East Columbus, complete with a wraparound porch no one ever sat on and a yard they hadn't mowed in years. From the outside, it looked like something out of a brochure. White fence, wind chimes, bird feeders. But inside, that house was a ticking bomb. Tension in the air, debts stacked like old magazines, and a family held together by denial and silence. We only spoke when something was broken. A furnace in the winter, a transmission gone out, groceries when the fridge was empty, internet when dad needed to stream his shows. $1,900 here, $500 there. Even Amy's dental bill last fall. I kept a list. The total? $7,624. I never asked to be thanked. I knew better. Gratitude was a foreign language in that house. Then Easter arrived. My mother sent a text. No greeting, no warmth. Just, dinner's at 4. If you're coming, don't start anything. I knew exactly what she meant. No talk of money. No questions about why they never call, never visit. No reminders that the moment I stopped doing what they wanted, I stopped being their son. I still went. I'm not even sure why. Muscle memory, maybe, or some foolish sliver of me, still hoping we could pretend to be a real family for one day. Amy answered the door. She gave me a half smile, more awkward than welcoming. Inside, Dad was glued to the TV, already deep into a golf game. Mom hummed something tuneless in the kitchen, her back to me. The table was set. Ham in the oven. A casserole sweating on the counter. Everything looked normal, but it felt like sitting in a room where someone had just screamed. That kind of tension. We sat. We ate. For a brief moment, it almost passed as peaceful. Then Mom put down her fork and looked at me like she'd been rehearsing for this moment. "You're not welcome this Easter," she said, her voice calm and cold. No one gasped. No one protested. And then came the second blow. "You think you're better than us. Like you're some kind of savior." I didn't look up. I didn't defend myself. I just stared at the plate like it could shield me. That's when my father leaned over to my uncle and muttered the words that would stick in my chest for days. He was never a real son, just a clown. They didn't know I heard. They didn't care. They forgot. I was the one paying for the food they were chewing. That's what burned the most. Not the words, but how effortlessly they overlooked everything I'd done for them. I didn't speak, didn't yell. I just sat there for another 20 minutes, chewing slowly, pretending I couldn't feel the sting behind my ribs. Then I stood up, pushed my chair back, and left. No dramatic exit. No slammed door. Just silence. The kind that weighs more than words ever could. Back in my apartment that night, I opened my laptop and logged into every utility account tied to their house. Electricity, water, internet, all of it under my name, all of on autopay. I hovered over each one for just a second, then hit pause. One by one, like turning off lights in a room I no longer wanted to see. It took 5 minutes. 5 quiet minutes to end $7,624 worth of pretending I still belonged to them. Then I opened a blank note, typed 8 simple words, and read them out loud. Okay, but don't expect my $7,600. It wasn't a warning. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. Not to them, to myself. 3 days of silence. Not a word. For a moment, I let myself believe they hadn't noticed. Or maybe, just maybe, their pride was stronger than their dependence. Then my phone lit up. Buzz after buzz. Notification after notification. 47 WhatsApp messages. Mom, Dad, Amy. Even cousins I hadn't heard from since we were kids. Can you call us? The water's out. Internet's not working. All the food's gone bad. It's freezing in here. Not a single apology. Not a single moment of reflection. Just panic, hunger, cold. Not a single why. Their messages didn't sound like family reaching out. They read like someone begging a landlord. A faceless utility company. Like I was an extension of their house. Not a human being. And I realized this wasn't rock bottom for them. This was just inconvenience. Still, I read every word. Every pathetic plea. Every half-assed we're a family. Every attempt to make me feel like the villain. And in that moment, I knew they weren't learning a lesson. This was just the beginning. After I pulled the plug, quite literally, I waited. Not for an apology. I knew better than to expect that. But for something. A shift. A moment of clarity where they'd realize I wasn't just a breathing ATM with the same last name. Instead, all I got were those same 47 messages circling the drain of guilt. It's freezing in here. We're family. Mason. You're hurting your mother. No ownership. No accountability. Just thinly veiled guilt trips and a few desperate lines pretending nothing ever happened. Can you just turn it back on? As if I'd accidentally bumped a switch. As if none of this was earned. Not once did anyone ask me why I did it. I didn't respond. I let the silence stretch out like a shadow at sunset. And I knew, deep down, they weren't done. My family doesn't accept change. They crush it. And when you don't play along, they push until you break. This was only their first move. 2 days after the flood of messages, someone knocked at my apartment door. I checked the peephole and froze. It was Amy. I never gave her my address. I stayed still, just a shadow behind the door, unsure of what to expect. Maybe she'd cry. Maybe she'd finally say something real. Instead, I watched her quietly set down a paper bag, press it gently against the door like it was sacred, and walk away without a word. When I opened it, inside was a box of cereal, a can of soup, and a folded note. The note read, "You're miserable. You made your point. You're better than this. Just fix it before it gets worse." That was it. No apology. No recognition of what they'd done. Just the assumption that I was being petty. That I'd come to my senses soon. As if cereal could repair $7,000 in a decade of damage. I didn't open the soup. I didn't read the note twice. I tossed the entire bag straight into the trash. That was their idea of peacemaking. A pantry donation and a guilt note. And it told me everything I needed to know. They still didn't take any of this seriously. The next morning, the phone call started. Unknown numbers. Voices I hadn't heard since high school. A few I didn't even recognize at all. The first familiar one came from Derek, my cousin, the self-declared family therapist. He spoke like he was reading out of a conflict resolution handbook. Calm, measured, rehearsed. Look, your parents are going through a lot. They didn't mean what they said. You gotta understand where they're coming from, Noah. They're proud people. They just don't know how to say they're sorry. Then he hit me with the part that always makes my blood run cold. Just be the bigger man. I hung up. Be the bigger man? I've been the bigger man for years. When they couldn't pay rent, when Dad totaled his truck, when Amy maxed out her credit card on stuff she didn't even need, I stepped in. I was the one plugging holes in a sinking ship while they stood there, poking new ones. And now, when I finally took a breath, they expected me to carry it all again, quietly, politely. No, I wasn't angry anymore. Not in the way they wanted me to be. I was just done. Let them feel the silence. Let them sit in the void they created. Let them wonder how long it would last. Exactly 1 week later, something shifted. I was at work when my phone buzzed. It was my landlord. Hey, Noah, the guy in 3B says water's coming through his ceiling. You might want to check your place. My stomach dropped. I left immediately. Rushed home. The moment I opened the door, the smell hit me. Damp wood. Soaked carpet. That unmistakable scent of a home turning into rot. The kitchen was underwater. The sink overflowing, dishes bobbing like debris. Cabinets swollen, warped. The floorboards were soft under my shoes. It had been running for hours. I checked the hallway camera I installed last year. The same one I added after a few packages mysteriously disappeared. There he was. My father. Caught in grainy black and white footage. Calm. Unbothered. He still had a spare key. The one I told him to toss months ago. He walked up to my door, opened it like he owned the place, stepped inside, and left 2 minutes later. Didn't take anything. Didn't rush. Just turned on the faucet and left it running. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't desperation. It was a message. I didn't scream. I didn't call him. I filed a police report. Told the landlord what happened. Paid for the damages because, of course, they wouldn't. Then I sat down at my desk, opened a blank document, and started a new list. This wasn't a family feud anymore. This was war. And I wasn't afraid to play dirty. After the flood, the illusion was over. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a sad little holiday spat. This was deliberate. This was war. And if they wanted to fight dirty, fine. I could do worse. The difference? I could do it quietly. I didn't call anyone. Didn't post a dramatic status. I let them believe they got away with it. That they were clever for using a faucet instead of fist. I waited. Watched the maintenance crew rip up my soaked floorboards. And while they worked, I worked too. Starting a new list with 3 columns. What they owe. What they did. Why I'm taking. I wasn't out to hurt them physically. I wasn't that far gone. But emotionally, financially, I've been collecting receipts for years. So I began pulling the strings. First, the loose threads. Things I'd forgotten I was still paying for. Dad's truck insurance? Still on my card. Canceled. Amy's Amazon Prime? Tied to my email. Gone. Shared Spotify family plan? Now it's just me, enjoying ad-free silence. I called the storage unit company, the one where my parents had been stashing dusty Christmas decorations and half-broken furniture. I told them to remove my card from autopay. They've got 30 days before it goes to auction. The guy on the phone said, bored. Perfect, I replied. Then I got petty. Real petty. I remember Mom had forgotten all her Facebook passwords. Because I'd been the one to set it up years ago. I logged in, changed the language to Turkish, and posted a status. Healing my soul in Istanbul, Turkey sparkles. I left it up for an hour, then logged her out of every device. Panic text hit Amy's phone next. I've been hacked. No, Mom. You just been noticed. But all of that, the Facebook sabotage, the canceled subscriptions, that was just the warm-up. The real move? That came when I remembered something important. The house. The one they'd been living in all these years. It wasn't legally theirs. When my grandfather passed, the deed was split between my dad and his younger brother, Uncle Ray. Dad was supposed to buy out Ray's half, gradually, through monthly payments. But here's the twist he never finished. Years ago, the money stopped coming. And Uncle Ray, he had no idea. So I picked up the phone and made a call I hadn't made in over 5 years. Hey Ray, it's Noah. He sounded surprised, but not cold. Look, I know this is out of the blue, but I need to tell you something, and I have the documents to prove it. I laid it all out. The payment history, the bank records, the emails. I didn't ask him to do anything. I just gave him the truth, methodically, calmly, like someone reading off an autopsy report. He was quiet for a long time, then said, "Send me everything you've got." I did. The next day, he called me back. His voice was flat, but underneath it, controlled fury. "Thanks for telling me, Noah. I'll take it from here." That afternoon, I got a voicemail from my dad. The first one in months. You better fix this. I don't know what lies he told Ray, but he's threatening legal action. You just cost us our house. Lies? No, death. Just the truth. Something you've been avoiding since I was old enough to spot it. The funny part? It wasn't lost yet. But if Ray wanted to push the issue, it could be. They thought cutting me out would make things easier. That by icing me out, the noise would die down and life would return to its quiet dysfunction. But instead, I made every corner of their comfort just a little colder. After Uncle Ray got involved, the group chat fell dead silent. No texts. No passive-aggressive jabs on Facebook. No, just checking in messages from Amy. It was that eerie, loaded silence, like the air right before a thunderstorm. I knew what it meant. They were regrouping. That's always been the pattern in our family. Don't reflect, don't apologize. Just wait, plot, and come back with a new angle. And when they returned, they came not with grace, but with desperation. The next call didn't come from Mom or Dad. It came from the school district. Someone had phoned in, pretending to be me, asking for my old high school transcripts. The woman on the line said it fell off. The caller got irritated when asked for ID, said they'd lost their license. The request got flagged and denied. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a tantrum anymore. This was an attempt to rewrite the past, to dig something up, something they could throw at me if this went legal. I locked down every account I had. Bank, school, social. I even put a freeze on my credit. And then, Amy posted a long Facebook status, carefully worded to avoid saying my name, but everyone knew who it was aimed at. Some people live for revenge, but real family forgives. Real family doesn't walk away just because things get hard. It got dozens of likes, comments from cousins I hadn't heard from in over a decade, strangers chiming in like they knew me, like they'd been there when I was paying off the heating bill, so they wouldn't freeze. I didn't reply. I didn't defend myself. Let them have their stage. I was already working on the next scene. Then came a drop-in. It was around 10 p.m. I was getting home from work, late, tired, headphones in, brain half asleep. As I crossed the lot, I noticed a car parked across the street from my building. Lights off. Windows cracked, just sitting there. I didn't think much of it at first. Just another beat-up sedan on a quiet block. But 20 minutes after I got inside, the buzzer rang. Then again, and again. I checked the door cam. My father, standing there like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't insulted me in front of the entire family. Like he hadn't flooded my apartment out of spite. Like he hadn't tried to erase me from our family tree. Just there, looking straight into the lens. Not moving, not blinking. He pressed the buzzer a few more times and stood there, still like a statue. I didn't open the door. I didn't speak. I just watched. After about 20 minutes, he walked away, disappearing down the stairs without a word. A few hours later, my phone buzzed again. A text. We just want to talk. It's not too late to end all this. Though he caught my eye. Not, your mother misses you. Not, Amy, sorry. Just we. They were unified again. Aligned. And that meant something was coming. The next day, I found out exactly what their we meant. Uncle Ray called. Calm voice. But I could hear the edge underneath. Noah, your parents offered me $5 grand. I didn't say anything at first. Just let it hang. They want me to sign a release, he said. Let them off the hook for the house. No fuss. Quiet. Off the books. I exhaled slowly. Of course they did. They thought they could patch it up with a quick cash deal. Like this was a parking ticket they forgot to pay. But Ray? He didn't bite. I just wanted you to know, he said. They're trying to clean up their mess without facing it. You want me to wait? Yes, I said. Hold off. I've got one more card to play. Because I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was moving strategically. So I went digging. Old emails. Screenshots. PDFs from every dime I'd spent. The furnace install. The new electrical panel. Amy's surprise credit card bill. I compiled everything and sent it to a friend of mine. A lawyer who owed me a favor. I wasn't planning to sue, but I wanted them to think I might. Because people like my parents, they only take you seriously when they start to panic. And I was more than ready to let them drown in it. Once I hit send on that email to my lawyer friend, I didn't have to do anything else. No threats. No legal letters. Just quiet momentum. Word traveled fast. 2 days later, Uncle Ray called again, this time laughing. Your father called me 3 times in an hour, he said. Offered me a handwritten apology, free lawn care for a year, and half of a fishing boat he doesn't even fully own. I didn't laugh with him. I just nodded. The desperation was setting in. Slow motion panic. They weren't thinking anymore. Just reacting. Grasping at anything that felt like control. I didn't need revenge. This was better. Watching them twist themselves into knots, trip over their own fear, spill secrets, trying to stay ahead of consequences they swore would never come. Then, out of nowhere, Amy cracked. She showed up again. No knocking this time. Just sat on the steps outside my building like someone waiting for a bus. I watched her through the peephole for a while. She looked smaller somehow. Eventually, she slipped an envelope under my door and walked away. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Handwritten. I was wrong about a lot of things. I went along with them because I didn't want to be next. I know what you did for us. I know they're lying about more than they admit. You don't deserve this. At the bottom, if you ever want to talk, I'll answer. Even just once. I didn't respond. But I kept the letter. Not because I forgave her, but because I knew eventually it would matter. The next surprise didn't come from them. It came from someone I barely remembered. My mom's sister, Aunt Rita. She and I were never close. A few holiday hugs. Some birthday cards when I was little. But that was it. And yet, there it was, an email from her. Subject line, be careful. Inside, her words were brief. Blunt. Your dad called me. He's digging. Want stories. Childhood drama. Old jobs. Rumors. Anything he can twist into leverage. My chest tightened. Not because I was scared of what he'd find. I've lived clean. I know what I've done. But because that's who he is. Even now, even after everything, he wasn't focused on making things right. He was still trying to win. Still trying to control the narrative. That told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't just afraid of losing a house or being embarrassed. He was afraid I'd pulled the one thread that held his whole fantasy together. Because once that thread is gone, it all comes undone. Every lie, every manipulation, every illusion he built about what kind of man he was. And the worst part for him, he knew I didn't need revenge anymore. I had something more powerful, proof, and peace. And then came the final blow. Uncle Ray called me again. His voice was steady, but this time there was weight behind it. I looked deeper into the paperwork, he said. Not only am I still a legal co-owner, they're behind on property taxes. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I just listened. If I want, he said, I can file a claim. Force an eviction. Take back the house completely. Legally. Clean. Quiet. Then he asked the question. Do you want me to? I didn't answer right away. That night, my phone rang again. Not a message. Not a missed call. A real voice. My mother. I hadn't heard her voice directly since that Easter dinner. She sounded tired. Worn out. We never meant for it to get like this, she said. We thought you were just trying to punish us. We didn't know how bad things had gotten. For the first time in years, there was something like honesty in her tone. And then, she ruined it. So what now? You're not really going to let Ray take the house, are you? There was not regret, not sorrow, just fear. Fear of losing what they still believe they were entitled to. It was never about healing. It was about control. I didn't answer. Because I knew. The next part wasn't mine to say. It was theirs to live through. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more real-life family dramas. Let me know in the comments what you think about today's story. Was it fair or totally messed up? See you in the next one.